So finally the GFS model has come up with the depiction of a very potent blizzard, snowstorm, whatever you want to call it. I think we have to take a couple steps back and just think for a second, okay? What have I said last year? Every storm that happens has an impact on the next one. So let's pretend that this is the US, for example, or a piece of land or a continent, okay? If storm number 1 cuts up like this, okay, and then the next storm comes through, let's say that this storm could potentially cause a block or a shift in the atmosphere somewhere up here. That means a model could say, oh, well, storm number 2 is coming up the coast. Well, you see, it can't because there's a block which actually pushes it instead out to sea. This is what I'm referring back to our next upcoming system, which is going to be rain. Okay, so we have our teleconnections, which are very supportive, but we need the teleconnections in a proper place. So what do I mean by that? For one, our PNA is going super positive, okay, in the 300 metric parameter. This is excellent because you have a nice and well-defined ridge that's going to come up on the west coast like that. Of course, where the crest of the ridge is will dictate the track of the storm, the amplification of the trough, yada, 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 and whatnot. Our NAO has a tanking period that starts from the 11th and ends on the 17th. This is a storm signal right here, okay? If we go back to our PNA, it has a rising period that starts around the 15th and it ends around the 19th, okay? So between the 11th and the 19th, you're opening this big window of storm potential. And then our Western Pacific Oscillation, I think this right now is one of the most important things because this is the first time it's going negative. And the storm signal goes from the 11th to the 18th, okay? Eastern Pacific Oscillation, EPO. It stays negative this entire time. It goes positive a little bit and then goes negative. Sometimes when you go from negative to positive like this, what happens is once the storm gets going, it can kind of disrupt the teleconnection and it can, take the teleconnection's energy negatively away and it can make it positive. So that's the period you really have to watch for. So all 4 of the teleconnections support storm development potential. I don't think we need to look at this exact storm, but just look at the overall pattern that's evolving. I said cold would come first and then snow would come after. When you're looking at your MJO, when you see this thick green line dissipate, you don't go looking any further than that, okay? What is behind this black line is what you want to focus on because the accuracy drops from 25% to 1% over here. Don't look that far. We're focusing on MJO phase 8 and then eventually phase 1, okay? If we look at our ensemble mean or NAO, we have a definitive drop on the 7, 10, and 14-day forecast. Our AO completely tanks, as you can see, goes down. Our PNA flatlines positive. See that? This is so important because this is what I've been trying to look at. The GFS has a trough that swings around like this, comes down like that, and then ba-boom, comes up the coast around toward New Jersey. We have a western-based block. This is very important. Going back to what I was saying before. Why is this important? Well, if I made this an eastern-based block, okay, let's say that the block is like this. All right? The block is like that. The storms come around like that. It can't punch through this block. It's then forced up into the lakes, where the least area of resistance is, which is over here. But because we have a western-based block, it can't come up the lakes. It can't cut through the lakes like that. It is forced towards the northeast. Another thing that's very important that one person has even mentioned about is our Atlantic block 50-50 low. This prevents a storm from cutting up like this as an inland runner. This is going to practically take the storm and force it to go around like this, taking a benchmark track. So am I saying, oh, to watch out for this storm? Yes, but this will change. Other storms behind this will affect what's going on with this one. The overall pattern was very important. And you can see our Atlantic block pops up, western-based block over here. Both high and low pressure can both be blocking mechanisms. You can see it on the simulated IR brightness temperature reading. And before I go and wrap this very short quick video up, this was the year of Snowmageddon. Now, I was speaking to Charles before, but he had absolutely no clue what I was talking about, and he needs to pay attention more. This was the month of January, okay? This was anomaly speaking. February was a pummeler for Philly and Baltimore and all those areas, okay? Last year, Boston didn't get slammed until January 26th going forward. So, this, I haven't made any videos lately because, not too much has honestly changed, alright? So this is a short video, and one last thing before I close this off. The MJO is pretty much useless if there is no linkage to the region. As you can see, there is a linkage to the region, and now it was starting to plow in the Pacific Northwest, but shifting towards the Southwest. That's the end of this video. It's very short, but overall, the snowy pattern is starting to evolve. I do think that the potential is there for a major storm possibly forming, as we do have a tropical system in the Atlantic that formed as well. So, why did it form? If we go back real quick over to Earth Null School, we're going to go over to our SSTAs, okay? This is our ocean temperature anomaly, okay? You got your storm out over here. Let's turn this wave motion off. I said back in November we were going to have a negative NAO. Back in November, okay? The reason why that is because of the anomaly that's south of Greenland. This is cold water. Cold water cannot hold as much moisture as warm water. Thus, high pressure forms and works its way this way. Look at the East Coast. The Atlantic Ocean is on fire, alright? Now, again, reverting back to what I was saying before, yes, when you have a warmer ocean, you can bring in more warm air, alright? But if you have a high-pressure system in Ontario, and you're drawing that cold Arctic air down, you're going to have very intense snowfall right along I-95, okay? The same thing goes for even if you have a storm that's off the coast in the benchmark position, alright? For example, I'm sorry, why did I draw high pressure? There we go. For example, like this, but there is no high pressure system, you better not think that you're going to get snow over here, because I can tell you right now, it won't be snow. That's all I have to say. Just focus on the overall evolving pattern. Second full week of January was when, the pattern fully flips and begins to lock into place. We just have to be patient now.